Hello and welcome back to the Schooner Pod. I'm your host, Bobby Howard. With me today, we got Jameson, we got Ty. And guys, another stressful OU game that went down to the wire. None of us were anticipating a close game with Nebraska, who struggled to start the season. But yeah, again, a lot of issues from the Sooners. Jameson, what went wrong?
Well, I mean, a lot of, after the Tulane game, a lot of the fans were facetiously saying, I wouldn't be surprised if we continue to just falter and all this stuff. And they said that, but, some of us said that too, but did we actually mean it? And now, after that game, we're actually starting to mean it. There's a lot of concerning things, and it comes down to the offense, number one. Spencer Rattler as the head of the helm, can he lead this team to be an elite team moving forward is a huge question. And that defensive back crew, they're not healthy enough. And is it going to be the Oklahoma Sooners of the past where we couldn't guard anybody?
Yeah, no, definitely a lot of red flags are appearing. And, some of them are stuff we've been talking about all offseason that aren't issues that continue to be issues, and definitely startling. Ty, your takeaways from Saturday's game?
Yeah, offensively, just atrocious. I mean, I know we were sort of commemorating the game of the year 50 years ago, but we didn't have to play like it was a football game from the 70s. I did not think that the over-under for this game, I think it was 64 or something. I keep getting it wrong. It was in the 60s. It was just astonishing, and just offensively from OU, atrocious, but at the same time, equally atrocious to make Adrian Martinez look like a competent quarterback. Because, I mean, if you guys have been following Nebraska, there have been people saying that Frost should be fired just for not benching him. He's legitimately that not great of a quarterback, and we made him look great. And then, we're going to dive into it, but just the very first Nebraska drive of the game when they went for it on fourth and converted, it was just so many flashbacks of just, holy shit, this is the same OU that we've always known, where people just, not only can people do, more or less whatever they want against our defense, which I understand they only scored 16 points against us, but when you just go for it on fourth and just get it, no problem. And I understand they went for it two more times. They only converted 1 4th down, but that's just when people can move the ball against your defense, but at the same time, it's just in their game plan that they have no respect for what you guys can do in the secondary. It's just atrocious. And we didn't look any different. We look like the same old OU teams that we've known for the past few years, except this time the offense sucks too. So, I mean, it felt like a loss. It was a win. It felt like a loss to me.
I get that, and it obviously a frustrating game. And defensively, that's the story of the game. The defense couldn't get Nebraska's offense off the field. They did great through downs 1 and 2, and on some occasions 3. But Nebraska playing the way they were, just desperation football. OU for the most part couldn't get to him on 4th down, whether it was pressure or just gaping holes in the secondary. Nebraska was able to just stay on the field, and a lot of people have mentioned this, and I had touched on it with some friends after the game. It felt very similar to Army in the sense that OU had so little possessions. I believe they only had 8 true possessions. If you actually look at the box score, OU's offense just could not get on the field. When it did, it was very pedestrian.
I'm not sure.
Pedestrian.
They beat us time of possession by 7 minutes, 1 second. So number of possessions wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, no, OU's offense just couldn't get on the field, and that was a detriment to the team. And those 3rd and longs, 4th and longs, it's unacceptable. But you got to give credit where credit's due. Nebraska played a hell of a game. They game planned the hell out of this. Martinez, you made him look like a Heisman candidate. He still had the game of his career maybe. So, that can't happen. OU's got to get better, but at the end of the day, it's a win. I'd much rather be talking about two disappointing, kind of tough wins than the situation we were last year where we blew it to Iowa State and Kansas State and our season's over. So, definitely tough. Definitely a long ways to go, and OU's got to shape up because they got some tough competition coming up with Kansas State and Texas, down the line. So it's only going to heat up. It's only going to get harder from here, for sure.
Yeah, we had 9 possessions, by the way, Bobby. So we were close on that. And it's why it was just so ugly is there was a lot. We just had a problem with finishing the whole day, finishing on third downs, finishing on fourth downs on the defense. And then on offensive side of the ball, we got the ball on their side of the 50 3 times where we didn't score. And that's not acceptable. I understand one of them was a missed field goal, but whenever you're punting on their side of the 50 twice, that you should not be doing that as an Oklahoma Sooner football team. And I'll say this, Ty, and we can move on just talking more about just breaking down the offense and everything, is, a lot of fans are going to think that this is the Oklahoma teams of late. But that is just because we are broken goods, because we are just hurt and we have old scars that are beginning to open up again. But this is a completely different wound, in my opinion. We have completely different problems that we have not really had as an Oklahoma team recently. And Spencer Rattler is at the pinnacle of all of them. And I really want to hit him whenever we go over the offense. But tell me, how has he improved from last year? And has he digressed from last year? He looks very eerily similar to the quarterback that was playing at the beginning of the year and then had to get pulled in Texas. He's not throwing receivers open enough. He's throwing in a triple coverage. He's throwing off his back foot. He's a basketball shooter. He's taking fadeaway threes every single time. He's not setting his feet. He's not throwing into throws. He doesn't look comfortable. And Lincoln Riley isn't doing a justice to him either. And there's not a lot of guys running open like we've seen in the past.
Yeah, and let's just dive right into the offense and continue to talk about Rattler because, like you said, a lot of these issues are with Rattler. He's playing outside of the offense. He's making these just ridiculous throws. That one triple coverage one, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Exactly the same thing from Tulane. The exact same kind of thing happened and got picked off. It was very, very brought back. Like I was having deja vu.
Do you think it's a situation where he's not like being coachable, or do you think he's like overly confident? Do you think Lincoln's just kind of letting him do whatever he wants? Who knows? It's just that is the type of throw that you just shouldn't do.
Yeah. And whenever you make the same mistake twice, you get worried. I think one of it is I think that we are not having these breakthrough plays. Like our halfbacks and our tight ends are non-existent in our offense these past couple games. Austin Stogner's not making an impact. Braden Willis is I barely even noticed him on the field. If he wouldn't have single-digit number, I wouldn't even notice he's on the field. And Jeremiah Hall, the same thing. So those were big-time things in Lincoln Riley offense. We're not getting it there. And another thing with Spencer, I would not be surprised if he has some kind of like hurt shoulder or something because he just doesn't have zing on his throws. It just doesn't look right. I wouldn't not be surprised if after the season we see something come up that he has to do like a tiny little repair that he just kind of played through the season because there's a lot of things that we can attribute to him mentally doing the wrong thing, but at the same time physically he's not making the throws that we always known him to be because he has one of the best arms that's came through Oklahoma in the past. Athletically his arm is the best that we've seen. I don't even know if you can compare it to many quarterbacks.
Yeah, I know football people smarter than me have said that the biggest issue is with his footwork. With the way he's throwing. With it, and that's you got to be disciplined, and it goes all the way down the line. The lack of discipline on this team, it's tough, and it really kind of bit this team in the ass. Ty, I'm sorry, I would like to hear your thoughts on Rattler. You guys have really nailed. I just want to say I agree with everything both of you guys have said about Rattler. The one Rattler take I've been hearing because it's been the talking point of everyone and everything. I have not yet bought into the idea that it's like the NIL has any factor to it whatsoever. I'm not buying into the idea that because he did a commercial with a car dealership, he's playing poorly. It's not off the table for me, but I have not seen anything
that shows me that. But what I do want to point out, and I'm not trying to make excuses or anything for Rattler, because his play has been not up to par. But we really don't have any great receivers. I think you can argue it looking at the stat line, but like Hazelwood was our leading receiver, and he had some wide open, just atrocious drops and atrocious. If you go back and watch the game, just atrocious zero effort plays out there that are just inexcusable. And it always comes back to the same thing. Drake Stoops Drake Stoops is an amazing player, amazing dude, but Drake Stoops should not be a starting receiver or a receiver that is playing and getting good play time and effort at a top 5 team. He just shouldn't. And the fact that he, just by pure effort and love of the game, is able to literally, because he earned his spot. He's not given that spot on the team. Maybe he could get a spot on the team because his dad, but he's not earning, first half, first quarter, crunch time, key receptions where he's getting open and getting the ball, right? His dad is not getting him the amount of play and the quality of play that he's earned. He's getting that because it really seems to me like out of the receiving core, he's one of the very few dudes that actually cares and is actually out there putting out on every play that he's on the field. I understand he has fewer plays than other people. I understand people have injuries and everything else. And I don't think that Mims is part of this group. And I don't think Stogner's part of this group or any of the tight ends, because that's a completely different animal. But a lot of the other receivers have not lived up to the hype that they're supposed to. And I think that is causing a lot of the issues here. Because if we had a superstar wide receiver on this team, I think we would be thinking very differently about Rattler right now.
I feel like you're right. Hazelwood did have a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde game. There were a lot of things I didn't like, some bad drops, but there were a lot of things I did like from him. And I feel like
this has been his best game. This was possibly his best game yet ever in an OU uniform that I've seen. And then just some of the other guys are extremely talented, but like Mario Williams, amazing game, but he's 5'9". Like you just can't, you can't really do a whole lot with that at receiver when you got someone that short. Like I don't know. I really think that the receivers are not that they should be blamed for, Rattler, but you look at Rattler's stat line, and it's not bad. And that's one of the enigmas, right? He doesn't really put up that bad of stats, but I think his interceptions this season are going to go way up when we start playing competent secondaries.
Yeah, no, I could see that. And, I feel like a lot of the reasons why Spencer's stats look good is because they were great in that second half. Outside of the 2 possessions when we were inside our own 10 at the very end of the game, we started out that second half and we looked great, I would say. But just want to say about Hazelwood real quick. I think he had a Jekyll and Hyde game, pretty good. Keep in mind he is coming back after that injury from last year. You have to get in a rhythm a little bit. Not trying to give him too much excuses, but he's developing. In terms of Drake Stoops, though, that guy, spoiler alert, he's my game ball. The amount of grit from this kid, making the clutch plays in the right time, not just like the big plays, like that really, really big catch after the believe it was pass interference. It was a long 2nd and 20 situation. Not just the big plays that stand out, but he had this incredible block in the first half as well that just set open a massive, I believe, Hazelwood run. So I get that. You wish that everyone played with that energy, I would say, but I feel you. Jameson, your thoughts on the receivers, Hazelwood, Stoops, etc.
The way we're playing Hazelwood, he's a number 2 wide receiver. His ability, like I said, and I was concerned about it, is his pro comparison coming into the season by 247 Sports had him at Keenan Allen, but he's not Keenan Allen. He doesn't automatically get open. He's just a possessive wide receiver. He's more of I'm going to throw back shoulder and I'm going to catch it every time, but I'm not going to get open in the middle of the field just because my route running. While he does have good route running, he just has a struggle to get open. And that lateral quickness might have been lost in that ACL reconstruction. Mario Williams is the guy that we need to turn to be the new number 1 wide receiver. But like Ty said, he's small and he is a true freshman. So he's still doing really, really well. like if you're talking about growing pains, he's a true freshman, so you got to move on from that. But the tight ends and halfbacks not being a big thing in this offense, I don't know if that's just something that we're moving on from because maybe we just don't like Spencer doesn't like that as much as our quarterbacks of the past. But it's just weird. It just doesn't make much sense from Lincoln Riley's standpoint.
It just feels like we fall in love with the long ball too much. Instead of trying to, make easy, simpler plays, move down the field, we're just like chucking the ball down three straight possessions. And not only do you forget about the running backs in terms of the passing game, you forget about them in the running game. We did not use Brooks and Gray nearly enough in this game. I think both were fantastic when they got the touches. I thought, especially running, when they weren't running them out on sweeps or right down the middle. That kind of 3-4 gap type of running scheme, downhill running, I thought was really good. But offensively, I feel like Lincoln. Either he's saving some stuff for later or he's just lost his zip a little bit as a play caller, maybe. I don't know.
I think it really – I don't know, and this is – I'm not trying to, talk us in a circle here, but, the way that the plays work is obviously Lincoln is making the decisions and calling them, but there's primary looks, but there's always other options. And it really looks to me when you rewatch the tapes, we're always talking about these double, triple coverage things. I don't know that our quarterback is looking at anything but just the primary or the long look. And honestly, looking back at all the games this season, including that Missouri State, whatever. I'm not even trying to make a joke here about it. Western Carolina. It's like sometimes I think he just never does anything but focuses on the long, even when the long, route is clearly not even the primary one or the first look. It's just everything else is ignored. And we're just like pressing X or whatever to just lob it into the long guy, regardless of what the coverage, because there's like triple coverage. Like the dude's not even open. The dude's not even turned around. Like the timing doesn't even look right.
Yeah.
And Rattler's still trying to force the play.
Yeah. He's keying in on wide receivers. It's as simple as that. He knows who he's throwing the ball to before the option is presented to himself. That's why Mike Woods for the second game in a row was wide freaking open and he doesn't throw him the ball. He doesn't have a good enough relationship with Mike Woods that he's not throwing into him enough. Last week with Western Carolina was set up with no cornerback in front of him on the goal line, didn't even look at him. And this one, he was open the whole route. He was running free the whole route, and they threw it to the guy in front of him. Well, I think Hazelwood was in front of him on the left side,
yep.
And Woods was going up for a touchdown easy. That you see that if you're not tunnel visioned, and that's a huge, huge problem for quarterbacks in general and a bad sign moving forward.
Well, I mean, that one was egregious because you saw the Nebraska defender just go straight, just ignore Woods entirely, head straight for it. It wouldn't have been a hard read at all. But again, I'm not a quarterback. This is literal Sunday morning quarterbacking. But I think that's go ahead, Ty.
Yeah, well, so I do want to say on the offense and on Rattler especially, specifically, I already kind of touched on it on the receivers. Rattler's not a bad quarterback by any measure. It's just there are expectations at Oklahoma, obviously, and there is a standard and a very recent, you can't have a higher, legacy to live up to in the past couple of years at Oklahoma at the quarterback position. But he played into that. He had all that hype and everything else. He embraced that. He was not shy about any of that at all. He accepted that and owned that. And now he's not necessarily playing badly. I mean, I don't want to. I hear a lot of people say he's playing badly. I don't remember if you guys have or not. I don't agree with that. He's just not living up to expectations. Same thing with like some of the receivers like Hazelwood, like I mentioned. They're not playing badly by any measure, but they're not living up to the expectations of Oklahoma. They're not living up to the expectations of a top 5 or of a competitive playoff team. And they're not living up to their own personal expectations that they came in with. So maybe it's a developmental issue with the coaching, it's a whole nother conspiracy theory, but Lincoln Riley did inherit a very successful system and we haven't seen any upward movement there. We really haven't. We've continued on the path that we were on. We haven't necessarily gotten worse, but we haven't gotten better either by any metric. So I'm sure you can look at stat lines or whatever, but winning the Big 12, losing the playoffs is what he inherited, and that's what we've continued to do. So,
well, I don't know if I fully agree with that. And it's I see where you're coming from, and there's a lot of time to still judge on that. We've just started painting the picture of this season, but right, it's not trending in the right way, and if it keeps trending that way, I think you have a really good point there, but I don't think it will. I think this team's going to improve. I think there's a lot more room to grow. They just have to figure it out fast because this is the type of stuff that gets you beat at Kansas State. This is the type of stuff that gets you beat anywhere in the Big 12, except for maybe Kansas. Even though Kansas has Bean, who I don't even know if Bean played this week. But
there's so much good content for the Picks Pod between Bean and Boko and
God, the Picks. Hey, yeah, y'all gotta listen out for that Picks Pod. It's good. But anyways, let's do offensive game balls real quick. We're already running a little long. There's a lot to talk about for sure. Jameson, real quick, who do you got as your game ball?
This was a tough one for me, but I'm gonna go with Kennedy Brooks. Just the running back room you just could give to Eric Gray too. We should have ran the ball more, plain and simple. Not much more to talk about there.
Yeah. Yep, we did kind of bury that point a little bit. Apologies to that, but just underline run the dang ball over and over again. Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, not to piggyback or be confrontational with Jameson, but I had Eric Gray. I think he's cemented. When you look at the stat lines, it's not that clear, but I think in this game he really cemented himself as a firm RB1 for OU. Going forward this season. So I had Gray and run the damn ball. Yep.
Run the damn ball. And I had my spicy pick of Drake Stoops that I mentioned earlier. Just a lot of just a gritty performance, great catches, great stuff between the margins as well. Probably a little too spicy to give it to him. But hey, I liked him. I thought he did good. He stuck out as a playmaker for me. Moving on to the defense, there was some good, there was some bad. Let's start with the good, though. Let's be an optimistic podcast. Offensive line, I felt like pressured Adrian Martinez quite a bit. I believe they got 6 sacks on the evening. Could have been more, but Martinez was slippery. What did you think of the D-line, Jameson?
Yeah, it was 5 sacks, and I think that there were a lot of times I wish that we would have gotten even more pressure because that's how good our defensive line is. But there are a lot of good things to say from it. I'm not going to nitpick it too much. I think Jalen Redmond had his best game of the season, a kind of guy that has been kind of getting lost in the weeds of a really good defensive lineman, doing his part, filling the gaps, but not making big-time plays. He definitely popped in this game. And Nick Benito, once again, I'm going to say it the 3rd week in a row, is showing you why he's going to be a first-round pick. The pass rushing, prowess that he brings and his QB pressure percentage is just unbelievable. And with another 2 sacks, if we didn't have that D-line and that pressure, I would have been extremely worried for our secondary.
Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of what the defensive – that's kind of what Nebraska really did was they waited back for the pressure and just try to throw it long before it actually came, or slip Taylor Martinez out and have him do a little run. He didn't really get a big breakaway run or anything. Their running back did not do awful, not great either. But yeah, that pressure was key. Ty, your thoughts on the D-line?
Yeah. So just the D-line specifically.
Yeah.
So great. I think there's not a whole lot to complain about. Like Jameson said, I think we all would have loved more pressure. I think that's a schematic thing that there wasn't. But we held them to, I think, 2.3 yards per carry, if I remember right, maybe 2.5, which is good because they had like 40 attempts. So 40 attempts, less than 100 yards rushing. Love to see that, and I don't even think those counted the scrambles that were that were sort of gotten behind the line. So I think that is I don't think there's a whole lot to complain about there. I mean, defensively, I don't really have any gripes with anything forward of the secondary.
Yeah, for sure. And that was a really the big issue were big plays. And yeah, you just have to point to the secondary for that. You can talk about, the amount of injuries we've had, no Woody Washington, no Billy Bowman. But in general, it's just unacceptable. Giving up, third and longs, giving up, that one particular fourth down and long. It just can't happen. Jameson, your thoughts on the replacements, guys who filled in. How do you think the secondary performed, and how do you fix that? How do you get better?
It's a good question, and here is a huge thing that a lot of people are getting some pushback on. I don't think DJ Graham had a good game at all. There were so many plays where he was just not playing good coverage, was just playing the good old, Mike Stoops. I'm going to play a couple yards off the receiver. I'm not going to let him do anything, and then they're just going to catch the ball in front of me. There's nothing that he's doing to stop it. He's not playing uptight. He's not playing press coverage. He's not pushing them, or he's, even if he's playing off. What's Ty got for me here? I hear him writing down something.
I hear the markers.
I was just gonna say, DJ Graham had. I haven't seen it in years from OU. We saw Zach Sanchez take over someone's body, play just atrociously the entire game, and then have a ridiculous interception that's thrown to them to cover up just the terrible of play in the rest of the game and the terrible coverage.
That's exactly what it was.
I literally watching the game, I was like, oh my God, is Zach Sanchez reincarnate?
And the fact that it accidentally hurt us a little bit made it even more Sanchez-y.
And yeah, Lincoln said he was going to think about challenging the call to take it away from Graham on it. That's how funny it is.
He actually did try to challenge it, and the ref told him, nope, they've already confirmed it. So he's like, I'm not even going to try.
That interception is declined.
Oh,
yeah. But moving forward with the secondary, with the cornerback position, there's not too much depth. Latrell McCutcheon is like another true freshman that still, he has some bright spots, but at the same time, he's so skinny and so young. There's only so much you can do there. Jaden Davis is just your middle of the ground. Will do some things that upset you, but most of the time will just play solid. But Woody Washington is so key to be in this defense because he has the ball skills and the cover skills that we needed. And DJ Graham, he was a wide receiver that just luckily played some defensive back and got a bunch of big time plays last year that made his name big, because he's an athlete. We saw it. He made the catch. He made a lot of good interceptions last year as well. So let's not forget that this is an athlete and he's still working on being a defensive back. Moving forward, I don't know what y'all think about this. We threw out a couple different formations trying to fill that nickelback position. Who's going to be our nickelback of the future? Jeremiah Cordell, I don't know what's wrong with him. He must be super duper slow and can't even play. That's probably why his 40 time was listed at 4.8 something in high school. You can't play speed D if you're running 4.8 something. I think Delaren Turner at nickelback and Key Lawrence at safety is our best bet, but we didn't start with that.
Yeah, I thought Key Lawrence did an all right job filling in there. He did have a couple moments, but it's tough. I don't know what you do there, Ty.
Yeah, I don't know if I have an answer with the personnel we have either. It's just we just look really young, which is weird because we're really not when it comes to obviously with the replacements and stuff, and in this sort of specific game, that's a different factor. But even with a full healthy roster, we just look younger than we should as a secondary, which is odd.
We have Broyles out there too, who played a lot, in this new, just shifting everybody around. But Broyles is doing the same thing that we've seen all the time. He's always just one step behind and just gets caught over him.
Yeah, I mean, he looks the exact same. As he did, when you were sticking him out on an island against, I believe, LSU at the time. It's just, it's disappointing, but This is still early. That's the only thing that's kind of getting me through this. Is it's an early season thing. We've seen what I thought was a pretty garbage OU team last year turn it around into one of the better defensive units in college football. I mean, so honestly, maybe it could happen again. It just maybe some time, or I don't know. They a second straight kind of disappointing performance. I don't know if that'll snap you back or not, but I don't know. We need Billy Bowman healthy. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, here's not to jump the gun, but just and I haven't heard any other media talk about this, which I think is kind of odd. But if I, again, not to jump the gun, my defensive game ball is a secondary, because without a blocked and returned PAT and then Nebraska's 2 missed field goals, this game could have been 23-21. This game was 3 kicks, 3 plays away from OU straight up losing. Because you take away those 2 points, add their 1 point had they made it, and then add 6 points for 2 made field goals, which is plausible. Obviously, if there's a whole, butterfly effect, had they made it, maybe we got the ball back and scored or something. But, as it lays, and again, holding someone to 16 points or even 23 points is not bad necessarily from the defense. And then it does become more of an offensive question. But this game was 3 special teams plays away, not even 3. It could have been just 2 of them away from us losing the game. So it's an important factor that I haven't really heard anyone mention.
Yeah, and a better team beats OU here. Nebraska, obviously can talk about their weaknesses, didn't have a lot of major playmakers, all things considered. They made a lot of mistakes. For as many mistakes as OU made, Nebraska was making tons of mistakes, personal fouls, the 2 false starts to start the game off. Just sloppy, little, tiny, dumb things that OU did not take advantage of to get them off the field, and it's just it's frustrating, and you just when you have an opportunity given to you, you just have to take it, and this team just never really did.
Yeah, for sure. And we've got to talk about that blocked extra point, because it was a 3-point turnaround, but it was huge for momentum. It was the revitalizing point of that second half that was needed moving forward. So yeah, definitely shout out for that. But let's move on to our game balls, Bobby. I'm just going to start off for the defense. It's got to be Nick Bonito. I'm going to say it again for the episode for the second time, and we'll probably say it again for the rest of the season. First round pick. The amount of pressure he puts on the quarterback helps all 10 other players on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I'm not going to get fancy with mine. It's Nick Bonito as well. He just was. That flat out was the key to this game. His ability of keeping Adrian Martinez in check in terms of, no big runs, kind of being that spy type of player where he always was kind of on Martinez. He came in clutch, and he did his job, applied pressure. So it's got to be Bonito for me. Ty?
Yeah, so ignoring the whole special teams, like I said, and the obvious Nebraska kicker joke, I'll kind of change it up, but keep on my theme. I'll go with Pat Fields, 9 tackles, and then that 100+ yard 2-point return. So
yeah, I mean, Jameson mentioned momentum swing. That was a hell of a momentum swing. That stadium went from dead to hey, let's go. This was exciting. It really sprungboard the Sooners into a decent rest of that game. If only poor Marvin Mims if only Mims would just let the ball go out of bounds, I think we would have had a better offensive drive to kind of wrap that thing up. But you do what you can. All right, defensive game ball's over. Offensive game ball's over. Let's close the book on this game. Move on to West Virginia.
I have a final thought. I promise it's quick.
Absolutely.
I do want to say, ultimately, same thoughts as the Tulane game. At the end of the day, if things go better, it's a W in the win column. And part of me, as the non-OU fan, just fan of college football, is kind of happy that it was like this, because I want to give a huge shout out to all the Nebraska fans. They traveled amazingly. They were, as far as I saw, a great guess. I'm sure there's some exceptions somewhere, but Nebraska traveled amazingly, was the most away fans I've ever seen in the stadium. It was crazy. They came out, they tailgated in force, and they just really came out for the love of the game. So I am glad that the Nebraska fans had something to, make it worth their trip. Even if it's still a loss, they can really hold their head up high and say that they gave us their best shot. So as a fan of the sport, I am glad that happened as much as I hate it.
Oh, yeah. No, the Nebraska fans were awesome. Truly, not just nice, but like they were loud. They were doing their chants, but not being like abrasive or annoying. They just, they love the sport as much as we do. And it was just a really cool atmosphere, and just truly, truly pleasant people to be around. Would not recommend it even more. Could not recommend it more. Definitely try to get out to Lincoln if you have the chance. Jameson, your final thoughts?
Yeah, if we're going to talk about Nebraska fan experiences, I'll play the other side. I had these nice aisle seats that were gifted to me for the game, and but there's no one sitting to my far right, so we had a couple of seats to our right that were empty. And so as like one of us was in the bathroom, this old man, like late 80s, comes down and sits right into the aisle seat and takes it. And I don't have the heart to kick him out of it. And I was like, they're all nice Nebraska fans. And then the game started to get bad. And as soon as he got up, I said, he ain't coming back. I ain't letting him. So we took the seat back and he walked back, and I just gave him the look like, sorry, buddy, you got to find another seat.
Oh, man.
So I would like to say that old man Nebraska fan, I'm sorry, but I had to do it for the brand, and I felt like we would have lost the game if you would have sat there much longer.
Sometimes you just got to be the alpha and, kick out an old man from his aisle seat.
I said nothing malicious to him. I just gave him the look, and he understood.
That's all you needed to know. That's incredible. Oh, man. All right, let's move on to West Virginia. If you've been following the Picks Pod or previews, we are relatively low on the Mountaineers. But with that being said, they just did get a pretty big win against Virginia Tech. And, they seem to be turning it around a bit. So, Jameson, I know you've kind of been higher on West Virginia than me and Ty. Your thoughts about West Virginia going into this week's game? Do they pose a threat?
I think that it's a different kind of game and on the offense side of the ball that we haven't faced yet. And it's their running back is their best player, and everything goes through him. Letty Brown, he absolutely dominated in the game versus Virginia Tech, rushed for 161 yards on 19 carries. And, Jarrett Dagey is a below average to average quarterback. He's not a bad quarterback, but, whenever you have the run game going like that and you have a running back like, Letty Brown, the passing game will open up. So one thing that we've done well these past 3 games is we've done really well against the running backs and against the run. So hopefully that matches up well for us moving forward.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That Letty Brown is fantastic. He had that 80-yard touchdown against the Hokies. That was obviously the difference maker. Ty, your thoughts on the Mountaineers?
Yeah, I am super happy for the way that they're super confident in the way that their offense is sort of based versus the strengths of our defense. I would be very worried if it wasn't a very running back, especially with just a single running back heavy offense, because I feel like I've heard this story before over and over with Puka Williams, Chuba Hubbard. You go back and name, scrub Big 12 teams that have a single great running back that you hear about all season, and they're like, oh, this guy's blah, 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 and then they put up less than 100 yards against OU, against an atrocious OU defense, and that's what I expect here. I think it's one of those things where it's like, you're the biggest fish in the small ponds, but you're still probably not a very big fish.
Yeah, I will say this, though. Breece Hall did work us, for the past couple of years, and that is a really big-time running back. But the difference makers in those Iowa State games was also in the passing attack. they're 6'6"ers taking down our 5'9" and 10ers.
Yeah. Well, they weren't one dimensional,
Yeah. And West Virginia doesn't have the same, like Jameson said, they don't have the same tight ends. They don't just punish you like that. And I will say for this Virginia Tech game, yes, West Virginia did what they needed to do to win. However, if you look at the game, if you look at the tail of the tape, Virginia Tech absolutely blew this game entirely. They missed a field goal within their own 20, and then they turned it over on downs twice in West Virginia territory, just right at the red zone. So the Hokies really botched that thing. But I will say, you kind of got to give it up to West Virginia for bowing up and, having good goal line stands, I guess. But just honestly, this West Virginia team, maybe not as good as they look in terms of a team that beat a top 25 opponent. But we'll see. Last week I was predicting OU to potentially drop, 60 on Nebraska. So I'm going to start shutting up now about my expectations for the Sooners. But this is a good. I think this is a good season opener for OU because it's a relatively good team, but they're not incredibly scary. You can make mistakes. It's a good place to grow and get better from. If they're playing Kansas State right off the bat, that'd be a little nerve-wracking.
I disagree. I'd rather be playing K-State right now than West Virginia. I understand K-State played very, very well versus Nevada, but West Virginia is, yes, they played already a couple big games. They're in the thick of it. They play in Maryland and then playing Virginia Tech last week. Those are competitive games. Their armor is already beaten and they're ready to come out and to a night game in Norman. The spread opened up at 17. That's right. And that, OU's just spreads are going to keep on dropping everything because we're not even close to covering them recently. But playing the other side of this as well is at least it's a night game. Oklahoma, in my limited sample size of 3, we have not covered the spread in any of our morning games, but in our night games, we have demolished the spreads. So just think about that moving forward.
That's definitely the deciding factor there. Excellent observation.
Oh, Bobby, what's the forecast looking like for Saturday?
Oh, yes.
It's looking like a low of 59 on Saturday.
Oh, yes, please.
So it's going to get a little nippy. It's going to get a little nippy.
A tad nippish. Oh, I like that. High of 88 too. So during the day, still pretty hot, but all things considered, it's going to be a nice, pretty chill fall evening, hopefully. This weekend was just sweltering. They sold out of waters in the second quarter.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was.
This weekend was rough. It's September 20th. It's I guess the 19th when we're recording this.
Yeah,
it's hot.
Can I take a second and do on the Gooner shift of the pod? Talking about a Gooner experience I saw. So I was going into the Oklahoma or the Joe Castiglione's Twitter post apologizing about the stands and everything, about how they have a lack of employment because it's just a crappy time in the U.S. right now. And I found this one Gooner lady, some old lady, complaining about the people that were coming to buy 3 beers in front of her the whole time as she's sitting there dehydrated and sweating, and she wants to bring in her own water bottles. And I'm like, don't do this. No. You're going against the young folk. You're trying to say that they don't deserve to be buying beer in front of you in a free country, and you take away my beer. How dare you? And it just started this whole back and forth of this poor old lady's tweet who she didn't respond to anything, but it created a huge thread of people.
My God. Honestly, they should just have water-only stands. I think that would work totally fine. But
and so many people do that.
Exactly. This poor old lady, she just wanted her water. But maybe don't get in the Michelob Ultra line to get your water. Oh,
but
geez.
it's just too funny. She's like, bring in your own water bottle. I was like, oh no, please don't let people do that. That is just a recipe for just absolute Tito's, just overdose of alcohol, just passing out in the bleachers.
I don't know what you're talking about with Tito's. I only know like Popov and Burnett's. So
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Why am I even saying brand names? They don't even sponsor. They don't even sponsor us.
Sponsorships. I will say, the employment in the stadium, the number of sort of event staff employees is definitely lower because observations from the student section where I still sit, as a legitimate student, I might add, not the sort of student ticket fraud that a lot of young alumni do. There is a significantly higher amount of drug and alcohol and tobacco use in the student section compared to the normal baseline because there's just like a non-existent security staff over there. You know, in years past, especially last year with the COVID year, because it seemed like they had, you know, a full normal staff, but then fewer people. You know, they'd have like snipers watching the stadium for vape clouds and weed and stuff like that. And like you'd see people hit, you know, whatever. I'm not going to say that people are doing drugs in the stadium, and then like 30 seconds later, there'd be like 50 like CSC event staff, like high schoolers, and then OUPD there escorting people out. Now people are just like straight up, and I'm not saying I've seen this because I don't think that would be strictly legal, but hypothetically, like there's people just straight up using their medication. We'll use air quotes for that, just overtly in the student section, like just sitting there. And I'm not talking like in a pen. I'm talking like a lighter and an actual fire, and paper and leaves are involved, and there's no staff there. So student section, absolutely electric atmosphere.
Oh
and
my
by
God.
Electric, I mean Snoop Dogg concert.
This is a gateway. This is bad. This is getting bad, Ty. Have you seen this in 1 year progression? The Devil's Lettuce gateway drug. We're going to be doing peyote in the stands.
It's just going to be a full-on rave in the student section.
Imagine doing peyote at a football game, watching like the Boomer and Sooner costumed mascots.
I'm just imagining OU West Virginia. Everyone's wearing like compression shorts and like mesh with just glow sticks and just full on rave. Everyone's got those dots on their faces, you know, that people do.
I feel like I would look down at my corny dog and it would start talking to me like the logo. You know.
Have you been eating corny dogs, Bobby?
No, I haven't had one yet.
Okay, good.
No,
I was worried.
I'm not going to lie. I thought about it. It would have been
this
cursed.
Economy.
It would have cursed the season. But I was standing there yesterday, looking at the Fletcher's line, thinking about it.
I'll say this. One, okay, you should not eat a corny dog outside the Texas State Fair because it just feels like treason. Two, how dare you taking a spot in the line of our poor old woman, Becky, trying to get a water?
No, I didn't. I did not. I was waiting to get up in the student section.
But you thought about dehydrating and killing that old woman.
You thought about killing Becky. That's BS. Sorry to the actual Beckys out there. Oh my gosh. All right, folks. This is a good pod.
I tried to keep it sponsor clean.
Yeah, it was very sponsor clean. It's legal. It's in medication, man. It's totally fine. Yeah, no, I think that's all we have for this week. Jameson, final thoughts.
Yeah, really nothing. Hit me with a Cruton Corner. We'll do a quick 1 minute Cruton Corner real quick. I just want to say there's not much to talk about, but
David.
Yes.
What is this, David?
This is a
Cruton Corner with Jamison.
Everybody dancing now.
Oh, that's nice.
just really quick. I really want to hit on, we don't have any like analysis or impending, commits, but we just got to know that who was here and who had a good time. So Raleek Brown was here, and according to his, social media, it looks like he's having a really good time. And like I said, it was us versus USC. He has a kid in California. Would he go to USC and stay close? I don't think anyone wants to go to USC right now. It dumpster fire. And him coming to OU that weekend after that happened, and, good momentum, looked like he had a good time. And they were putting on some pretty cool things on the Jumbotron at the game for recruiting. Good experience. Next off, I want to hit on Cam Dewberry. He's a guy that you probably haven't heard his name too much moving forward, but according to Rivals, he's a 5-star offensive tackle out of Texas. And, a lot of people thinking he's a Texas A&M person, but he's starting to lean towards OU now. And he had a good time at the visit as well. Him and Bill Bedenbaugh are really, really close. So that is a name to look at moving forward.
Awesome. Yeah, we're kind of in what I would refer to as who's having fun season, where we just try to see who's having a good time at various college campuses. So,
and they're going to have fun the majority of the places they go at the photo shoots. But it just shows you that, it's nice getting in Raleek into campus. And one of the most important commits right now with no other wide receiver commits in this class, to where we can get him in our little area and manipulate him and tell him what he needs to hear and push him away from USC, even if there is anything needed to be pushed.
Now, here's an important question. Were there any breakfast items thrown at our guy, Raleek Brown?
No, but he did put on the golden hat, and he showed his gold grill with it. So it was all gold everything.
Well, technically, Fletcher's corny dogs are breakfast items in my book. But anyways, thank you, Jameson, for the Cruton Corner. Much appreciated, as always. Ty, any final thoughts?
No, I think we need to cut it off because I'm this close to going on a monologue about how Red River we should absolutely, by any metric, bring back the gold accented uniforms. There's no reason to get rid of them, and I don't want to go on a 20-minute. It's not the time for that. I might just do my own podcast, Red River Week.
I like it. Let's hold on for that. Let's just we can do just monologue season. I love it. Just release like every day a different random monologue about how OU Texas can be either improved or needs to change, or the SEC stickers back.
I totally forgot it.
It's okay.
Fans of the podcast, terrible debacle this weekend. The cowboy hat was left at school and I didn't have access to it during the tailgate in the game.
That's
very unfortunate.
People that don't know, that made you sound like a high schooler, or like a middle schooler. Like, I left my backpack at school. How do you leave a cowboy hat at a college room?
So my major, we have our own studio area, and like I have like my desk that's mine and only mine, and like our building, and then our room that only we have access to and stuff. So I can leave a good bit of things there.
Yeah, you were wearing a bucket hat, and I believe the exact quote where I needed the cowboy hat for a presentation.
I did. I committed to it too hard. I keep meaning to go to the store and get a black one to embrace our OU is evil. Ooh, I like that idea. Just anytime you have a take that you feel like spicy about, you just throw on the black hat. No, this one just straight up does not fit. So
that is also true. For those listening, the cowboy hat never actually does fit. So, all right, everyone. Thank you all so much for listening to the Schooner Pod presented by the Pigskin Podcast Network. We are doing our best to put out that good content out there. If you have not checked it out, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. You can find all of these in video form there, as well as such great stuff as the Schooner Simulation, presented by Michael Whitman. Puts together a really good NCAA 14 sim of the upcoming game. Look for the West Virginia preview to be coming up soon there. And then, of course, Football Feast, presented by myself, where I attempt to make foods and botch them, such as the Runza episode that just went up last week. Let me tell you, folks, that one was special. This week we have pepperoni rolls, which are equally dumb. We use the same roll. We use the same dough. Went better than the Runza, but definitely some issues.
Runza sounds like something that Arkansas fans would yell. Like it's not a big chant. Runza, and there's just pigs running around.
I mean, you're not wrong.
It just makes me think of diarrhea.
West Virginia's food, though.
That's incredible. But anyways, all right, y'all. This has been the Schooner Pod, presented by the Pigskin Podcast Network. We'll catch you next time. Have a good week. Boomer Sooner.
Runza.
The Runza got in there.
Does that not sound like something that they would, or like what, like one of the pigs would be named? Like this is Runza
He's the speedy hog.
While we're still live and recording, we need the Bobby's
We are live.
the
We're still
poop
live.
report. We need the Bobby poop report. The
poop
establish of the poop after his meal that he just made of the
It was actually fine. The cabbage kept everything together. Made it.
Oh no, not the cabbage.
Okay, now that we're like
We're actually still live.
we are still live. This is a YouTube exclusive content right here. Speaking of that general region, so these Nebraska fans.
You mean your bunghole?
Butthole, yes. Okay, so this was probably one of the funniest things about the Nebraska fans that I really loved. Some of them brought by, they come by, we're talking to them, and they pull out this inflatable. They're like, this is Alicia. It's our inflatable goat. And inflated this goat and stuck a shot glass up its butt. And they're like, anyone want to take a shot out of the goat's butt? I'm like,
yes.
Like it was a goat sex doll.
It was a goat sex doll.
Like it was not like a modified like party favor or something. Like it was like a straight up. I was talking to one of our friends at the tailgate, and I was like, I don't know if I'm more concerned that they brought this and just don't think anything about it, or if I'm more concerned about the like rabbit hole, like the internet rabbit hole that they went down to even get that in the first place. It was just.
How does one find out about this?
I'm not gonna lie. It was. I was seriously like, I did not even go over to that side of the tailgate for the rest of the time.
It just
I
scarred
was
you.
legitimately bothered by that. Yeah, it was weird.
Fair enough. But all right, that's
Yeah.
the YouTube extra, everyone. See y'all.